everyone, it's Tara. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with my December reading wrap-up. I know it's a little bit late, but it's been a busy couple of weeks into the new year. So yeah, let's get into this. In December, my average star rating was 4.25 stars, which I thought was really good. I really enjoyed every last one of these books that I read. I don't really have anything bad to say about most of them. I had a great reading month. I read, if you count Ruin, which I started in October, I read 3,806 pages. Without Ruin, I still read 3,060 pages, so it was a really good reading month for me. I read or completed 11 books, which has not happened, I think, ever in my life. It was a really good reading month, so I'm really glad that I got to end the year on a good note. So what I'm going to do, because I did read a few Christmas themed books, I'm going to talk about those three first, just really quickly. I'm not going to go into much detail. They're Christmassy. It is now January, so we have a whole nother year before people would probably want to read these again. So actually, the first book that I read in December, and the first book we're going to talk about, is Mary Higgins Clark, Silent Night. So this isn't Christmas. I mean, it has Christmas themes, and it takes place on Christmas Eve, but it isn't super Christmassy. I mean, it's still a mystery, or a thriller, I should say. You know what's going on the entire time. But it's set around Christmas time. So this follows Brian, a little boy. He's 7 years old. He is in New York City with his family because his dad is in the hospital. He has been diagnosed with leukemia, and they go to New York City because they know a doctor there that is helping him, treating him. So Brian and his mom and his brother are in New York City, and a woman steals Brian's mother's wallet. It picks it up. Brian sees it happen, and Brian decides he's going to follow this woman and get his mom's wallet back. And you basically follow Brian from there. I gave it 3.5 stars. Okay, the next Christmas book I'm going to talk about is Skipping Christmas by John Grisham. If you have seen the movie Christmas with the Cranks, the movie Christmas with the Cranks is based off of this book. So if you've watched the movie, you know what the book is about. You follow Luther and Nora Crank. They have decided that this year they are not going to decorate for Christmas. They're not going to do Christmas presents. They are empty nesters. Their daughter's not going to be home for Christmas. So they decide to save the money that they normally spend on Christmas and go on a cruise instead. And the town, their neighborhood, kind of is in uproar about it. I actually didn't finish rating it because I was torn. I was torn between a 4 and a 4.5 stars. So we'll just split the difference and call it 4.25 stars. Then the last Christmassy book that I read is The Christmas Shoes by Donna Van Leer. This got 5 stars. I cried, and I knew I was going to cry. If you know the song, The Christmas Shoes, that song makes me cry. This book did the same thing. The book kind of goes into, dives deeper into the story behind the song. You follow Nathan. Nathan is a young boy whose mother is dying from cancer. I think it's cancer. Yes. And you follow Robert, who is a bankruptcy lawyer. He makes all sorts of money, and he's more invested in his career and bringing more things into his life than his family, and their paths cross, and Robert learns very important lessons from this little boy. This actually, I didn't even realize this, is the first book in a series. So these are the 3 Christmas themed books that I read. So I did DNF Spinning Silver. I got about 200 pages in, I think. There was lots of perspective changes, and they would happen suddenly, and it always took me paragraphs or sometimes pages in to figure out who was talking. So I didn't like that. And there were things that I felt were inconsistent within the story that I didn't like. So the rest of the books that I read, I really, really enjoyed. Because I don't want to forget them, because I normally when I do my wrap-ups, I go in order from when the books were completed, but I wanted to get the Christmas ones out of the way. So I don't want to forget the 2 library books that I read. I read Heartstopper Volume 1 by Alice Oseman. I really loved that graphic novel. I gave it 4 stars. I loved that the characters, Charlie and Nick, they had like what I love in my like romance stories, which is a very like natural and like their relationship like progressed in a nice trajectory. Like they met, they became friends, then they realized they had feelings for each other. Like I cannot stand the insta love trope. I'm really excited to see how this relationship continues to progress and how Nick, you know, grows as he learns more about who he is. I'm really hoping that Charlie helps him and is patient with him as Nick goes on this journey of self-discovery and like figuring out who he is. So really, really liked that. The other book that I read that I don't have, that I checked out from the library, is Peach Cobbler Murder by Joanne Fluke. I don't even know what book number it is in the Hannah Swenson series. You all know, if you've watched enough of my videos, that it's one of my favorite series. I give all of them, like, I rate them all very high. This one I gave 4.5 stars. Like, it's like almost smack dab in the middle of the series, so I don't feel like I can summarize it too much. Basically, one of Hannah's love interests has another, like, what she thinks is another love interest herself. And this love interest, Shauna Lee, opens a bakery literally across the street from Hannah's bakery. And Hannah's bakery is suffering because, you know, people like to try out the new thing. And Hannah is losing business. And she is jealous because not only is this girl taking Mike's time away from Hannah, but is now making her business suffer as well. And Hannah's trying to deal with that jealousy, and then Shauna Lee turns up dead. And people suspect Hannah because Hannah has a lot of motive. So Hannah investigates the murder. Always a good time. I love being in Lake Eden. I love Hannah and her antics, and when she investigates, and how all of her friends and family get involved. It's always a good time when I read those books. So yeah. So I think that we covered Christmas, we covered my DNF, we covered my library books. Now it's just the rest of these. Gone Girl, the one at the bottom. Okay. Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. I listened to this on audio. I gave this 4 stars. I loved the multiple like point of views between Nick and Amy. I loved both of those characters. I love listening to them. I loved that in the audiobook they are read by 2 different characters or 2 different narrators. One thing that I don't mind at all, like, in books, but it, like, took me by surprise when I was listening to it while at work. There's a lot of language in this. And it's a good thing that I listen with headphones in, because it is not work-appropriate language. So if you are sensitive to language and don't like strong language in your books, I would not read this, because, whew, there's some language. This follows Nick and Amy leading up to and during the disappearance of Amy. So Nick and Amy are married, and Amy disappears out of nowhere, like in the middle of the day. You get Amy's perspective leading up to her disappearance from like letters and journal entries, that type of thing. And then Nick leading up to and while the police are investigating Amy's disappearance. And then you also get some of Amy's perspective after she goes missing. So really enjoyed it. Then we have Ruin. Again, I did not read all of this in December. I read, I think, 200 or 300 pages of it in December. I started this bad boy in October. This is book 3 in the Faithful and the Fallen series. I gave this 4 stars. It is probably, of the 3 that I've read so far, there's one more. This is probably my least favorite of the 3 so far, but I still gave it 4 stars. There is a lot of plot progression in this from like books 1 and 2. Like a lot of stuff, I mean, it's almost 800 pages. A lot of stuff happens in here, and a lot of stuff that you've been waiting to have happen in the series happens. I'm surprised that I've continued reading this because these books are massive. And I'm really just surprised in general that I've liked the series as much as I have. So good job, John, for convincing me to read it. I read On the Come Up by Angie Thomas. I gave this 4.5 stars. And honestly, I was hesitant about this. I'd heard nothing but good things about it, but I didn't know if I would enjoy it because it's centered around like hip hop rap culture. Like the main character, Bree, wants to be a hip hop artist. I don't listen to hip hop music. It's just not my preferred genre of music, but I really enjoyed this. And I could relate to a lot of what Bree is going through in this book. I don't have dreams of being a hip hop artist. I didn't grow up in a bad school in like a bad neighborhood, but I did grow up with not a lot of money. And you know, the way that Bree talks about it, it was just like so matter of fact, like, yeah, this is how my life is. And that's kind of how I talk about my past and me growing up. Yep, we didn't have a lot of money. It is what it is. You don't know any different. So that was like a common ground between me and Bree. And from there, I fell in love with her as a character. I loved her relationships with her friends. She has an interesting relationship with her mother and her aunt and her brother. Like the relationships in this book are what drew me in, and then the rest was just really, really good. So I really, really enjoyed it. Highly recommend it. I really now want to check out The Hate U Give, which was written before On the Come Up. And it takes place in the same like neighborhood. They're not like, this is not a sequel to it, but I really want to read that now because I really enjoyed Angie Thomas's writing style, and I want to, you know, see what that's all about, because I've heard nothing but good things about The Hate U Give as well. So I really recommend this. I was hesitant to pick it up at first, but I'm so glad that I did. Then Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. I loved this. I gave this 4.75 stars. In this book, you follow Jules. Jules accepts a job as an apartment sitter in this old apartment building in New York City. And Jules' friend tells her that this job has to be too good to be true. Like, who pays the amount of money that they are getting paid to apartment sit? And Jules is like, you know what? I don't have anything else. I don't have a place to live because I broke up with my boyfriend. I don't have a job. This is a great way to make some extra or some money while I look for something else. And while there, Jules befriends Ingrid, who's a fellow apartment sitter. They meet up in the park one day. Then they make plans to kind of make this a standing thing. Like, they are going to get lunch every day. Something happens in the middle of the night that kind of confuses Jules. She doesn't think too much of it until Ingrid misses their lunch date the next day. Jules gets a little suspicious, starts trying to investigate a little bit, and the more that she digs, the more she finds out about this place, the more she realizes that this job was probably definitely too good to be true. It is so good. Highly recommend this book by Riley Sager. I recommend all of Riley Sager's books. Okay, then I continued on and finished The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. I gave this 4 stars. This is another one that took me a while to read. I really loved the premise of this. So this follows Aidan Bishop. Aidan Bishop has been tasked with solving the death of Evelyn Hardcastle. And the way he is supposed to solve that death is he wakes up every day in a new body and repeats the same day over and over until he solves the death of Evelyn Hardcastle. I loved that premise. It's kind of like Groundhog's Day, and the setting of the book is like this old like manor. That was like Clue. So it's like Groundhog's Day meets Clue, which is awesome. It got confusing at times, but I was okay with it being confusing because Aiden Bishop, the character who's living the same day over and over and over, he's confused. So he's like waking up, he doesn't know what body he's in until he looks in a mirror or someone addresses him. So he's like, who the heck am I? I think I would have enjoyed it more if I didn't take almost a full month to read it, because I feel like I had kind of forgot what was happening when I stopped reading. Overall, I really, really enjoyed it. I want to reread it just to see if I can pick up on clues, because the twists, there are some twists at the, like, towards the end, and I'm like, oh, I wonder if I were to read it more, like, in a quicker time frame, if I would have picked up on that. And then the last book I read, my stack just fell. The last book I read in December in 2019 was Maybe in Another Life by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Guys, I love Taylor Jenkins Reid. All of her books get 4 stars or higher. This was a 4.5-star book. Really enjoyed it. Devoured it I've read this in like a day. This book follows Hannah Martin. Hannah Martin moves back to her hometown in California after kind of living all over the country. She decides she wants to go back home, and her best friend Gabby says, hey, come stay with me while you like get settled. I want you home as well. So Gabby and Hannah go out one night, and basically Hannah is faced with a choice at the end of the night. She can either go home with Gabby, or she can go home with her boyfriend from high school, Ethan. And from there, you have concurrent timelines in which you follow Hannah's life if she goes home with Gabby, and Hannah's life if she goes home with Ethan, and what each of those lives would have looked like. And I love that idea that, like, one small decision can like drastically alter the course of your entire life. And it kind of explores that and how that can happen. I really enjoyed this. If you've read this, let me know which timeline which storyline you prefer. Do you prefer the storyline where she goes home with Gabby, or the storyline where she goes home with Ethan? I prefer the timeline where she goes home with Ethan, because I think it's the decision I probably would have made. I also think that it was a little bit more believable of a scenario to me. But I'd be interested if you've read this to see what you think. So anyways, I'm not going to try and pick these all up because the stack fell over and they're now all over my floor. So those are the 11 books that I read in the month of December. I had such an amazing reading month. I enjoyed all of the books that I completed. Let me know how the rest of your 2019 ended up. And congratulations to Team Mistletoe for winning the Reindeer Readathon. Good job. But Team Nutcracker, we did all right too. Yeah, that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, happy reading. Bye.